I'm Doug Williams from Buckner Heavy Lift Cranes. I'm currently the chairman.
I'm Roberto Carlini. I'm the CFO and project manager at Geo Trasporti, headquartered in Rome. Geo Trasporti is one of the largest Italian companies specialized in wind power transport.
I'm David Collett, the managing director for Collett Sons, transport company from the UK.
I'm Mario Aguado, managing director together with my brother in the company. I also head of focusing in the wind. We do transport cranes and installation focusing in the wind. So we offer like the full scope.
Thank you. Just to get going a little bit on some background on what's happening or what's going on in the industry. At the moment, I wondered if we can see what areas of the industry are going well at the moment. Let's start with something positive. Who's got some good news on the wind energy industry and our industry?
Well, I can take it on that one, Alex. In the UK, we've had a change of government, some bad points and some good points there are, I have to say. But the good point is that the moratorium that the Conservative Party put on onshore wind for England and Wales back in 2016 has been lifted. So a lot of the projects that we were seeing being developed and that we were reporting on at the time, they're all being dusted off, taken off the shelf, and they're kind of going back into planning. So we've seen that maybe the onshore market for England and Wales will be coming back alive. That's on the back of the Scottish market, for instance, that's been consistent since the year 2000. And of course, Ireland as well. Here in Ireland, they've got an increasing market that's happening over here as well through the planning.
Okay, thank you. Mario, what about lifting side of the business in Europe?
Well, in the markets that we are in Spain, Portugal, Germany, South Africa, but we see that in Spain there is a lot of decommissioning work, which is good for let's say small cranes. This year we have decommissioned around 150 turbines in Spain, and in the markets that we are also active, like Germany, is booming. No, it's a lot of work in Germany for everyone that has the capacity. No, so mainly I would say these two main things. Also in Spain, when you offer like the TCI in Spain, the customers really like it, and so it's Spain, Germany, and this decommissioning, I would say.
Thank you. And Roberto, what about transport in the rest of Europe?
Okay, we as Geo Trasporti are mainly focused in Italy. I can say that the onshore wind power projects are going on pretty well. Also, the outlook for the upcoming years are pretty encouraging. Yes, the good forecast for 2026, 2027. This means that also the investment in cutting-edge technologies is going on from our side, and so we hope we will continue also for the next years. In Italy, there are several issues relating to the mountain region projects, because there are a lot of projects in mountain area. This means that also the new trend of turbines are getting bigger, and components are getting bigger, and components are getting longer and heavier, and this require cutting-edge technology that push the boundaries of what is possible, and it is under control anyway. Yeah.
The easy lands are finished, no? It's like yeah. Now you have to go to the mountains because the easy parts are like...
The most part of that is in the mountain area, or very close to the mountain area. There are not so many wind farms in plain regions.
Yeah, sure. And Doug, dare I ask about North America?
So in North America, after being significantly down for 2.5 years, 25 came back strong, and it looks like the next several years are looking good. That's for onshore. You hear a lot about the current administration being negative on wind, but we heard that back in the 2016 to 2020 period, and those were some of the best years that onshore had. So sometimes it remains to be seen. Offshore, the U.S. has been was geared up to really go strong on that, and much of that has been reeled in. And it's hard to see. There are some significant projects, but not nearly what was anticipated. It's hard to see when and if that will turn around.
Thank you. And in terms of the shift from, or a shift potentially from onshore to offshore, is that changing the work that you're doing, David?
Not really. It's actually being consistent for the onshore. There's a lot of focus on the offshore for obvious reasons. There's new technology, the drive to produce bigger machines. Now we're talking about 16 megawatt machines. There's a lot of talk about that, but inside, quietly in the background, there's been a lot of onshore development. And of course, there's new science turbines over the last 2 or 3 years, which has driven a lot of technology required for driving to the wind farms. So it hasn't really affected anything on the offshore side. There's a lot of activity on the offshore, of course.
Okay. I think for Mario,
for me, so there is two things. The good things are opportunities, for in ports, for also for developing the business. But the problem is that we are all facing problems with the people, and the offshore market are taking a lot of our people, and more if they speak English. So we are facing a lot of problems with the offshore market, because also the rotation periods are much better, which I wish I could do the same, but it's impossible. So that's the bad phase. But the good phase is that the offshore market is growing, and for example, we are diversifying, and instead of investing in cranes, we are investing in factory of monopiles or something. So,
okay. And is there anything changing in Italy with?
Currently offshore is pretty silent in Italy. Probably the estimation is that the first project will start in 2030s. After 2030s, this means that we are mainly focused in the onshore projects, and probably when there will be this change to offshore, a part of these cutting-edge vehicles can be used, for example, the self-propelled modular transporter can be used also in the harbor area for some movement, for some internal movement. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Doug, with the size of the turbines changing, is that affecting your business in terms of the equipment you use, the way you do things, that sort of area?
It has increased the size of the cranes, and as the towers are getting taller, the U.S. has always lagged behind Europe in the height of the towers, but as the towers are becoming higher, more derricks are being used on the machine. To many Europeans, it would seem strange that we were not already using derricks, but in the U.S. there was always a tendency to go to the next larger crane because there was a resistance to use the derrick. Also, the size and weights are reaching the point where in the past you would pick a rotor with the blades already attached. Now most of the work is single blade installation.
Mario, are you going to use derricks?
I think the problem that we are facing is not a problem, but the technologies like Vestas, Nordex, Enercon, they all want to go higher. And we always think, no, they will stop. No, at 150 meters they will stop. And at 175 meters, come on, no more. Now they are asking for 200, and I was like, come on, really, 200 meters? So we need to look for solutions for 200 meters half height in, let's say, in NCE, like German up. And this is challenging. This is very challenging for crane manufacturers.
Okay. The transport-related issues, are they getting easier over time, even though things are getting bigger? So as you get more experience and you get better at it, is that being sort of slowed by the increase in size, or is it improving?
Well, I wouldn't say it's improving particularly. Every time you go up in component size, you're faced with new challenges, both investment-wise for new tech, for new trailer technology that you need to be able to carry the turbines, and again, training. We've hit on it earlier today, getting the right staff to be able to do the job. Even in heavy transport terms, we tend to find it's a different kind of breed of driver that you need and a steersman for normal heavy transport, and then somebody who wants to go and work on a mountaintop on a really hillside in Scotland is a different guy that wants to be driving the truck at that point. So, things haven't changed as far as that goes. That's always been an issue. But we're seeing for the future that it's not going to improve.
Okay, and similarly for lifting, is your improving experience outweighing the difficulties by bigger components?
Well, I mean, I was saying before, 200 meters half height is so high. You know? So customers are asking for solutions. We are looking for solutions. European manufacturers, Asian manufacturers, Chinese manufacturers, crawler cranes, tower cranes. There are solutions there, still not settled in the market, but there are solutions there. But yeah, it requires a lot of capex. It's just to go a bit higher. No? So that's the most difficult part I find. Because for the installation, at the end, the turbines are installed the same. You know? So for them to go that high is the most challenging.
And are the turbine manufacturers now better understanding the needs of you guys in terms of things like better access roads and that kind of thing? Do they understand that the cranes need to be winded off sometimes because obviously it's windy areas? Is that improving from the manufacturers or not? Who'd like to talk about that?
We face several issues, even though we are more experienced than in the past. Because I share with Mario the high pressure we get in the execution phase. Just want to present a case. We were transporting a 75-meter long blade from a transshipped area to the pit inside with the blade lifted. And everything was ready. The operation team was there. There were also representatives from manufacturer side, from the client side. There were also a field engineer sent by the blade lifter provider. After 2 kilometers, the blade lifter suddenly stopped. It was our very first transport with the blade lifter. The pressure we got in the moment was really impressive. It was insane. I remember also, for example, the customer, manufacturer, called us and asked, will the blade reach the site today or will the blade reach the site tomorrow? It was just, it all lasted 5 to 10 minutes, no more. It was solved immediately because it was just a trivial issue related with an electro-valve function. It was just 5 to 10 minutes, but the pressure was so high, so impressive. And one of the other issues we have, and for this issue we cover with manufacturer is for the permit application, for example. As the components get bigger and heavier, mainly heavier, in Italy, mainly in Italy, the permits application is not just related to transport, because it's related to infrastructure. Before a transport permit is issued, for example, when talk about 160 meter rotor diameter components are very heavy. This means that the road authorities, before issuing permits, require for road tests, for some technical studies. When all said and done, it takes 4 to 6 months to get permits ready. And you can imagine also the pressure we get from the manufacturer of turbines. The turbine will be installed at the earliest. Yeah.
For sure. I think also, Alex, one of the things that works well between the OEMs and the trailer technology, if you like, is that I think the manufacturers now see that they have to have some dialogue with the trailer manufacturers. For instance, we've got like Goba from Fairman Building, these guys. They work closely at the development stage, and it just leaves us down to ourselves to then have to invest in the CapEx to buy these things. But for instance, blades, now you're looking at more than one solution. You know, what was a super wing carriers, now you've got to have a blade adapter with a dolly system, and then you've also got to have the blade lift, because the new size components are beyond anything that we would have dreamt of 5 years ago, let's say. Being quick to market, and it just needs more time to do the planning, needs more time to do the alterations that you need to make the route accessible and viable. And I think that's what we're seeing at the moment.
Thank you. Is it similar in North America, your experience?
Well, in the US, it's a different model. In 99% of the cases, the turbine manufacturers do not handle the new turbine construction. It's done by the EPC contractors. And so that's definitely different. One other thing that is different, I believe, is the schedules are driven quite hard in the US. Walking cranes is the norm rather than the exception. And as the components and heights have gotten higher, that's only exaggerated some of the issues of poor ground conditions. And so that's going to continue to be a struggle. But I feel it's improved because, unfortunately, in years past, there's been some accidents due to ground conditions, and also as the towers get higher, you reach a point where some partial disassembly is going to be required, and already is in some cases.
And that's accepted as being economically viable because it's something that just has to happen.
Yeah, it's accepted reluctantly from some of the OEMs, but it's accepted.
And it's not something that you have to absorb.
No, not in our model.
No.
That's also the difference. I hear a lot, maybe you'll correct me, but many times in Europe I hear about crane companies working on a per unit price per turbine. In the US it's not that way, that you're working on a monthly rental rate and a time and material situation. So
We should go to USA.
yeah. So it's completely different. Now, of course, the EPC contractors, they're working on fixed cost.
Okay, so they bid from the turbine manufacturers
That's right.
to do the job.
Well, they bid typically to the developers. The developers typically buy the turbines, and the EPC contractors work for the developers.
And that's different in Europe, I think, is that right?
Yeah, totally different. Yeah, we work for the manufacturers mainly, and but only. Yeah, well, we are supporting the developers on the designing phase, so we can support on if they can use an LG, if they can use a narrow track, if they can use a wide track, building the platforms for dismantle or no, it's not needed. Because sometimes we go to the site and we say, why this is built like this? It doesn't make sense. You spend so much civil work. If you could have made the road like 1 meter more, we could have used a narrow track and you could have saved a lot of money. No? So we are also working on that with the developers.
Yeah, same here. We mainly work with the turbine manufacturers. And just some technical studies sometimes is required from the developer. Yeah, but no more.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone in the audience like to ask something? Just to give an opportunity. We do have a question.
This question is for David, really quickly. Do you think it would help out? Oh, actually, let me kind of backtrack a little bit. When it comes to the wind projects, you know, the issue is always the weight of the cargo is changing, and because the weight of the cargo is changing, you need new equipment. And then once you've done the project, a couple years later, then that equipment is no longer strong enough or, you know, adequate for permitting for the next batch, and you keep going through high capex to be able to do these projects.
Yeah.
Would it help, especially like now on the bigger ones where we're talking about blade lifters, where the customer or the EPC would buy the blade lifter, rent it essentially to you for the job, or lease it to you, or borrow it to you, whatever kind of contract you would do. And then that way, that capex wouldn't be your responsibility? Would that be something that would help?
I guess it would help certainly from the capex point of view because you don't have the outlay. Essentially, then all you're doing is supplying labour to operate somebody else's device. So then you come into insurance and liability issues at some point, and who's going to carry the can there. I can see, imagine a scenario where it would be a rather a difficult scenario there if you have an incident, whether it's an operator or whether it's a piece of equipment that's faulty. But it's an unusual scenario, Kevin, to be honest. I think I've heard of some strange inquiries, but we've never had that one thrown at us in the past yet. But who knows? If someone wants to give us a load of money to go and buy kit, I'm all for it, believe me.
Try to think differently, that's all.
Yeah.
We have another question.
So with the increased weight and size, do you see any opportunity to develop anything alternative to cranes? As on tower climbing machine?
Can you repeat, sorry? Say again the question?
Yeah, is there any alternative method that you think is going to be, I would say, applicable to the increased weight and size of the turbines?
Well,
He was talking about the tower climbing.
Actually, I was investigating the last month. We were in China. We were seeing tower cranes, which I don't really. Okay, I'm not an engineer. Okay, but I think it's quite risky because the crane is not braced to the tower. So when you see the tower crane based 20 meters or based 200 meters with 120 ton component, you know, to install the turbine. We are speaking here about safety first, you know, and I would be very scary to be the crane operator. Then I would not send to anyone there, you know. But the solutions are there. In China, they are installing these turbines that high with this technology. And probably European manufacturers are studying these kind of things because it will take 1, 2, 3, 4 years, but 200 turbos will happen, and at the end the customer would like to have as high as possible because the wind is higher. So I see that technology. So Tadano has built an amazing crane. Liver is building in the future, in a few years, I don't know when this LR 11,000 Plus will come, and Chinese manufacturers are already there. So I see that this is coming.
I think there will be cases, there already are cases in unique situations. Challenging access. I can think of one job we looked at in Australia that was in a protected forest, so there was no room to move conventional cranes. I think those types of alternative lifting devices will be used in definitely in unique, limited situations.
Thank you. Anything that's going to join the Buckner fleet then that isn't a crawler crane potentially?
I don't see that happening. No.
Okay. In terms of legislation, anything recently happening or coming up that will benefit you guys in the industry? Any positive legislative changes?
Well, for example, in Germany, things has improved a lot for the development of the projects. In the other hand, Spain is a mess for permitting this project. It takes 5 years to develop a wind farm, and in Germany, it takes maybe 1 year to get all the permits. And in the other side, in Spain, for transport permits, it's much better than in Germany, for example, or in France, in Italy. So.
In the UK, once again, it's the change in the idea that they're going to accept onshore. But in terms of actually moving the turbines, we have the same legislation as we've always had. Anything over 30 metres, you have to have a special order permit. And then you reduce down to the nearest port. But unfortunately, what we're starting to experience with the new size, the new generation turbine, is that the nearest port isn't suitable for stockpiling the cargo, the components. So we're having a bit of a fist fight sometimes with which port is acceptable as opposed to what's usable, should I say.
In Italy, tax credit legislations have helped a lot in the past 5 years, and also some internal laws regarding reimbursement in case of in case of purchase of new equipment. In these 5 years, have helped a lot to increase the vehicle fleet for the transport company, and the crane company as well.
So this is almost a backwards answer to the question, but in the U.S., and I could have my dates off a little bit, but roughly at the start of this decade, we had very good news with the extended tax credits spreading from a 3-year cycle to a 10-year cycle, that everyone said, well, that will really allow manufacturers and everyone to gear up and produce a lot of work. And then the various Biden administration initiatives, infrastructure and other related supports to the industry. But what happened is that the U.S. was so used to being on a 3-year cycle and always being in a urgency to complete work before the tax credits ran out. When the 10 years hit, there was some lack of urgency because we have 10 years to do it. And then what caused more problems is, even though the tax credits went through, it took the Internal Revenue Service about 1.5 years, if I remember correctly, to ever post how they were going to apply those credits. So developers were afraid if they move forward, they might move forward in the wrong way. And then just as soon as that hit, interest rates went up, and supply chain issues started. So that really hurt the first part of this decade. The good news is, now we've burned up 4 to 5 years of the 10-year credit, And so the US market, I believe, I hope, fingers crossed, is going to get the benefit of the urgency again. So hopefully it's going to go back to some extent to be in a seller's market rather than where it's been a bit of a buyer's market. So it's a roundabout way that legislation has hurt us, and maybe I'll say procrastination has helped us.
Yeah, that's a very clear explanation. Thanks, Doug. We're getting near to the end of things. Anyone like to ask another question from the audience? Not at the moment. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Kevin.
If you don't mind. So this is going to be for Roberto and Mario. You were mentioning a lot about the blade lifters, and I keep bringing this up because we're working on a lot of projects in Canada with that. And I'm just curious about when you're using those blade lifters, a lot of the components are usually coming from a port, and then you're getting close as possible to site, and then essentially continuing all the way. Are you doing kind of like a dual transport where you're transporting it on, let's say, a regular conventional trailer as close as possible, then switching to the blade lifter where you minimize the number of wires that you have to take down or remove, and then continue from there?
Yeah, well, certainly in the UK, the whole purpose behind the blade lifter, I think when we designed it with Schuyler in 2008, was just for the last mile or for a certain place where you have a transition point, deliver it on a regular trailer, boom, take it round, lift it back off, and then away you go to site. But like all these things, we're on generation 4 now of the blade lifter. The infrastructure you need at the transition point is actually quite a lot of room. You need an awful lot of room. You need mobile cranes. You need, it's turned from a simple process to actually quite a complex part. Already, people are looking at ways of curtailing that, and instead of, it was originally designed to be able to run maybe tops 5 miles an hour, if that, maybe 3 miles an hour, for a distance of maybe a mile or 2 miles. The last project we did, we were driving 36 miles completely from the transition point, rather than making a second transition point to put it back on the trailer, to actually take it all the way through to site. The one shortly after we did was load it in the port and drive 45 miles on the motorway. It's just a natural progression. It wasn't designed for that function, but it seems to be turning into that function. So you could argue that it's actually it's been more creative and it's been more useful than it was planned. But the risks behind it are you've got to understand that it's not the solution for everything, because it's quite tricky and time consuming. So, but it's a solution.
Sorry, if you want.
Another question from Kevin.
Thank you. This is for Doug. You were talking earlier about walking the cranes. Are you literally talking about walking the cranes, or actually just putting them on SPMTs and then driving them from one position to another?
That does happen, moving cranes on SPMTs in the US, but 99% of the work is done actually walking the crane. And it's extreme, the amount of walking that goes on in the US. It's not unreasonable for somebody to decide they want to walk a mile and then make a lift, and because of a schedule, they'll turn around and walk a half a mile back over land they just walked on to meet their schedule. We in most cases have had to, within any group of cranes that we have in wind, we have extra crawler side frames so that we always side frames being rebuilt because of the wear and tear. You see, this is something that when the occasional person that hasn't done wind comes into wind without knowing the maintenance that you have to keep up during the project and the cost associated with rebuilding tracks, because I can tell you for the first 20 or 30 years that we were in the crawler crane business, before we got into wind, I mean, our cranes crawled no distance. They just went to sites and they were set up and they sat there, and we had actually never rebuilt a set of undercarriage side trains. And if people haven't been in wind, they don't, the rental rates in wind are much higher than they are for normal work. But there's a reason for that. The costs are much higher, and the risk.
Okay, thanks Kevin. Thank you very much to all you guys on the panel. That's the end of that session. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.